Welcome to episode number 7 of Three Questions with Steve. Three Questions with Steve is a weekly series where we talk with people in the community to find out their thoughts, feelings, and perspectives after over a year of pandemic living. Our guest tonight is Sharon Brown. Sharon is a life and health insurance agent with AIM West Financial and Insurance Solutions and a certified California agent. In addition to that, Sharon is a speaker for the Alzheimer's Association, and I know Sharon as a fellow Toastmaster. We're Toastmasters friends in District 57 Toastmasters, and we've served several times together as district officers. Sharon, welcome to Three Questions with Steve.
Thank you, Steve. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me. I'm ready and excited for your questions for me tonight. So let's get going.
Terrific. Now that we're seeing light at the end of the pandemic tunnel, I'm going to ask Sharon our 3 questions. So Sharon, how are you doing?
Steve, I'm really doing great. I worked throughout the entire pandemic, and I realized I really like spending time at home and working. I'm a homebody, but I did work throughout the entire time, and I work for the counties as well as my own business. And we did practice a lot of safety with our masks and gloves and staying 6 feet apart. So everyone stayed pretty safe. I was blessed that not have any family members that got the disease. We all stayed very healthy and practiced being safe. So it was a time that was a little bit challenging because I took 3 months off work to go to LA and take care of my aunt who has Alzheimer's. As you know, I took care of my mother for 16 years with Alzheimer's, and now my aunt who lives in LA has Alzheimer's. So I take care of her from a distance. I'm taking care of her finances. Anyway, I took that time off. So I really thank the pandemic for allowing me to have that time off. Our job actually paid us COVID pay. So I used that time to take off along with it, all the sick time I had built up, to be able to spend time down there, get her situated, get her care arranged and interview people. So now that's all taken care of. So I was really, really lucky to have that time off.
Great. So what have you learned during this time of pandemic living?
I learned that family and friends are really important and crucial. I'm a bit of a loner, but during this time, I really wanted to be close to my family. And in order to do, most of my family's in Los Angeles. So the time I was in Los Angeles, I was focusing on my auntie, my 88-year-old auntie. But I also made sure that I hounded my cousins and my other aunt via Zoom to make sure we stayed connected. So I connected with a lot of my other cousins and relatives while I had this time off, and made sure at least once every couple weeks I call people, or we would have a Zoom conference with up to, I think the biggest one we had up to 12 people on the call. So that time help you to kind of sit back and smell the roses and say, hey, we're all spread out all over the United States, and it really is crucial to keep that connection with your family. And that's what I use that time off for, just to stay connected and to be appreciative of your loved ones.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, what action steps are you taking as we move forward?
For action steps, I've been going to school, Cal State Hayward, for a while because I take 1 class a semester. But I only have 1.5 years to go before I succeed in getting my BS. So I'm really excited about that. And as you mentioned earlier, I've been an advocate for the Alzheimer's Association, and I plan to use my BS to be a counselor for people that have family members that are dealing with that. I want to be a counselor where they can just have Zoom, we could Zoom on conference, and I can help guide them through this entire process of dealing with family members with Alzheimer's. And I got this idea because I had a counselor throughout my time with my mother to help me kind of know what steps I could be taking, what services were at my disposal, group counseling that was available to me, and just things to look out for and things to plan for in the future. It was a lifesaver for me. And now that I'm dealing with my auntie, I have this background already, so I kind of know what to do. And that's huge. So my goal right now is to practice podcasting, such as yourself. You've got your podcast up and running. I saw a lot of your episodes, and I love them. So that would be my next step, is to learn how to do podcasts, because that's how I'm gonna start out, with talking about Alzheimer's and some of the interesting situations, even funny situations I have with my auntie, who's an absolute diva with Alzheimer's. So it could be a comedy, one woman comedy actually, to tell that story.
Well, at some point, I'm going to have you on the podcast then.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, there you have it. Sharon told us how she feels, what she's learned, and what action steps she's taking as she moves forward. Now, before we finish, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do at the Alzheimer's Association and what people could do if they wanted to help?
Well, some of the things that I have done is they have a conference once a year, and they usually have a panel of people that are caregivers. And that is where I did a lot of my speaking, or I would say contributions to the panel, where I would be on the panel, people can ask me questions or write questions ahead of time, and I would answer the questions based on my experience and what I've gone through. And the other thing I did was I attended many of the Alzheimer's Walk for Alzheimer's, and that was the greatest reward, because you're actually raising money for the Alzheimer's Association, and they have all these free services. For instance, what I mentioned earlier is if you want to go to counseling and have some, or even individual counseling, that's all free to you. And they're all over the United States. So I have connections in Los Angeles. They've given me, just as a quick example, my auntie was in show business many years ago. She's been a singer and an actress, but she's a introvert. She stays in the house most of the time. So through the Alzheimer's Association, I asked them to find someone that could just call her and talk to her about the old days, and maybe look up some of her movies and talk about that, because she still remembers that. And that's something that they found for me. They gave me a company that does this. I call that company, and they call her once a week, and they just talk on the phone. And it's wonderful. It really is wonderful. So just little things like that it's so healthy for her, and it makes me happy that she's taken care of in that way.
All right. Well, that's terrific. So thanks for being on the show today. And thank everyone out there who's listening and watching. How are you doing? What have you learned? And what action steps are you taking as we move forward? Please put your comments in the comment section. And while you're at it, please like, share, and subscribe, so this message can go far and wide, and we'll find that shining needle of common ground in that haystack